you doing, good people? This is the 8-Bit Animal. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a trilogy of fighting games that led to some of the biggest changes in the video game industry. Today we're going to talk about how the release of the first title in that trilogy for home consoles caused so much controversy that one man went on a crusade to bring the entire industry down, and how that ended up leading to all of those nice little rating stickers in the bottom corners of your game boxes. Today we're going to talk about Mortal Kombat. Now, Mortal Kombat was originally a Midway arcade game. It was a fighting game from Midway, and knowing Midway and their history, we could have honestly saw this coming. Midway, for those who don't remember Midway's history, they were known for pushing the envelope in instances. With titles like, they had titles like Gauntlet, Sinistar. They had a title called Satan's Hollow. It wasn't a very good title, but it was a title nonetheless. Now, as far as, more mature content, games like Robotron, where you were protecting the last human family from an alien invasion, and if the aliens touched the humans, they would kill them. Smash TV, where you were trapped in a bloody, gruesome television show. Narc. Need I say more? Narc was probably the most violent thing that I've ever played in an arcade, including the Mortal Kombat trilogy. And all of these titles, while they were incredibly violent, they were incredibly fun to play, and they had an attitude about them that was undeniable, and a quality about them that was undeniable. So it wasn't an instance of Midway just slapping together games for the sake of just cashing in on gimmick. Now, around the release of the arcade version of Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter II was the king. They were the undisputed leader in the fighting game movement in arcades. You couldn't go to any arcade without seeing a Street Fighter II cabinet. And so there was this team at Midway. These two guys at Midway, Ed Boon and John Tobias, who were working on this fighting game. And they brought in some of Midway's best and brightest. And they took a novel approach to the way they would make this game, including actually videotaping and capturing video footage of live actors portraying the characters in the game. They also went into a completely unheard of dimension in terms of violence in these games. The first Mortal Kombat title featured a storyline that was really reminiscent of martial arts movies like Enter the Dragon, Game of Death, things like that. And it featured a level of violence that we hadn't seen in a video game at this point. Each character, one of the hooks of Mortal Kombat was that each character had a fatality, or a move that, when they performed this move at the end of a fight, would kill their opponent. Kano ripped his opponent's heart out. Sonya Blade would blow a kiss and the opponent would catch fire and burn up. Johnny Cage would throw an uppercut that would knock his opponent's head off. And so on and so forth. Most of them involve some trauma to the head of their opponent. Now, the Mortal Kombat game, the first Mortal Kombat was extremely popular, so much so that Midway launched this media blitz to bring the title home. And when it got home and it was released on home consoles after the very successful Mortal Monday launch, gamers noticed something. The SNES version of the game, while it was beautiful graphically, it lacked the mature content of the arcade version. And the Genesis, while the Genesis version had that mature content, you had to kind of dig a little bit, so it was a workaround type thing. Now, the Super NES version of the original Mortal Kombat is far less popular than its Genesis or Sega CD counterparts, mainly because of its lack of true violence. Blood was gray, greenish, kind of looked like you were knocking concrete out of your opponent. But that's neither here nor there, because while it was a graphically superior port of the game, it was nowhere near as good when it came to that type of content and being close to arcade perfectly. And gamers noticed, and so they flocked away from the Super NES port. Now, meanwhile, while gamers were deciding which port of Mortal Kombat was better, lawyers, one lawyer in particular by the name of Jack Thompson, went on a crusade to he went on this crusade lobbying against the video game industry. Along with him, Joe Lieberman also jumped into this debate. And so you had politicians, and you had some lawyers. Everybody was coming after the video game industry after the release of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat, because it was such a widely available title, was probably more of a catalyst towards the whole formation of the ESRB than anything else. Way more so than something like Night Trap was, because let's be honest, nobody knew about Night Trap until these hearings took place, and the hearings wouldn't have took place if every 15 minutes we weren't seeing a commercial for Mortal Kombat on TV. Now, after this, since there's a rating system in place and all this, Acclaim, who was producing the home ports of Mortal Kombat, were kind of like, you know what? We can kind of do what we want now. So you had pretty much identical ports of Mortal Kombat at this Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. And while Mortal Kombat was a good game and was solid as a fighting game, it kind of lacked the technical polish that something like Street Fighter or Art of Fighting or Samurai Showdown, other major fighting games of that time had. And so, for the most part, the original Mortal Kombat trilogy is looked at by a lot of serious fighting game fans as more of a gimmick than anything else. But it's still a major part of gaming history because of the fact that without Mortal Kombat, we wouldn't have the doors to more mature content in gaming. They would have never opened. So, that's your gaming factoid for today. This has been 8-Bit Animal. I will catch you beautiful people